I'm Exodus, and I made a Fallout game. About 8 months ago, before diving headfirst into making my own RPG, I researched other projects working towards a similar goal, to turn Fallout back into a TTRPG. What I wanted was a way to bring the classic Fallout titles back into the tabletop setting. At the time, I failed to find anything to suit my needs. Almost every effort I found was rooted in D&D 5e, which is something I wanted to avoid. Not only that, but all the Fallout conversion projects I found were based in the FPS titles, again, something I wanted to avoid. There wasn't an alternative solution, so it only left me with one choice, to make my own TTRPG. Before I go into detail about the differences between my system and D&D 5e, I would like to acknowledge some other projects that I found. Here is a post made on r/Fallout made 4 years ago by user Calvin Wars that puts players in the midst of the Mojave. The Fallout New Vegas D&D Player's Guide is a 144-page document that has quite literally everything needed to get your New Vegas campaign rolling. It contains classes and subclasses, races and factions, weapons and armor, and it really sinks deep into a high level of detail. It's not really a conversion from traditional 5e, but it does give players the tools to launch their own New Vegas-themed campaign. I looked for projects like these before I started on my own, because I was looking for inspiration. While I liked playing through New Vegas a lot, it isn't really the setting I was looking for. I much prefer homebrew content over something that comes in a neat package, but I would highly recommend taking a look at this project if it's something that interests you. A link will be posted in the description below. This video was posted 2 months ago by the channel XP to Level 3. It's 36 minutes long, but I thought the video offered a lot of content and covered a few different topics, including their own D&D campaign that was given the A-OK by Bethesda, which I think is pretty neato. This RPG uses D&D 5e as a backbone, but it uses the tools already available and does something incredible with them. The host introduced the Karma Cap system, which uses an actual bottle cap. There are a couple rules associated with the system, using d20 dice rolls, granting players rerolls, as well as some DM-specific actions. I appreciate the ingenuity from a design standpoint, and the use of the Karma Cap separates this Fallout RPG from the others. I highly recommend watching the video because the host is passionate about the project, and that is shown through the amount of effort that's gone into it. A link will be posted in the description below. I would like to make clear that the Unofficial Classic Fallout Tabletop Edition is not a conversion from D&D 5e. It is an independent project that stands alone, free from the confines of D&D's limited skill structure and what I believe is a rather complicated rule set. D&D can be for casual players who sit down on the weekends for some fun, or those who live and breathe the world they have created. My plan is to limit that gap, so that any type of player can sit down and carry on through the world of Fallout. By sticking to the playstyle of the OG games, anyone familiar with the classic Fallout playstyle can slide right into action. An important feature of D&D are races and classes. Races are distinguished from one another due to the attributes of each race, including bonuses and deficits. One race might be more reserved than others, so characters should act accordingly. Classes are like categories for player characters. It gives them a starting point to add more personable attributes. However, race and class features do not appear in classic Fallout. Players have one race to pick from, human, and no classes to choose from. If players decide to create their own character, it is on them to decide how their character should act. One feature of the Fallout games is how primary statistics function. Instead of depending on a dice roll, they use a pass-fail mechanism instead. Players can choose to solve a problem with applicable skills or using their primary statistics. Is there a door jam that needs to be opened? Why not use strength to bust it down? Is there a scientist who needs help? Why not use your intelligence to converse with them? This keeps the functions of primary statistics and derived statistics separate. Skill checks are carried out differently between the two titles. D&D has a straightforward way of completing a skill check. Skill points are added to a skill out of a list, then a d20 is rolled. The result of the roll combined with the number of skill points constitutes the player's attempt at the skill check. If the number exceeds the check, then it's a pass. If the number is under, then it's a fail. In classic Fallout, skill checks work similarly. By putting more skill points into a category, you increase your likelihood of success. The main difference is that in the unofficial Classic Fallout Tabletop Edition, percentage dice are rolled, not a d20. It seems plainly to add the two statistics together, but when players are leveled up enough, there will become a point where players can pass a check regardless of a roll. Every single skill check should depend somewhat on the roll of a dice and should not be guaranteed. This way, even characters with expertise in one skill can still blunder. Because how this system works, attack rolls and skill checks can be performed with the same dice. A calculation on the player's side must be made to find the output of a skill check. This is where the main difference between the two lies. How critical hits function is also different from D&D 5e. Instead of depending on a dice roll getting a 1 or a 20, critical hits depend on a character's luck score. With a luck of 1, a critical hit would have to be 99. With a luck of 10, they only need 90. Not only that, but there's also a perk that decreases the critical hit floor by another 10%. In 5e, players are limited to a main action, bonus action, and a movement action. In the unofficial Classic Fallout Tabletop Edition, players can take as many actions as they please, as long as they have enough action points. Action points are decided by a character's agility, as well as additional perks that change this number. There are also perks that reduce the amount of action points specific actions take, so more actions can be taken per turn. There are additional core features that dramatically change how this game is played compared to other RPGs. I didn't cover everything in this video, but I wanted to clarify that this is an entirely new system. If you have any questions, there is a guidebook posted in the publicly available Google Drive, and a link will be provided below. Thanks for watching.